What's going on today, YouTubers? Welcome to another edition of Walking Reviews. Today we're going to be taking a look at another custom knife. One that I didn't have my hopes up for. This is the second knife that this company has made. I did not care much for the first one. I thought it was well made, but I didn't understand the reputation that it had. But this one is something else. This is the Rask by Grimsmo. Titanium frame lock flipper. You know, you've seen 100 million of these. But the way they made this, well, you'll see in a second. Let's go ahead and jump into the specs before I get ahead of myself. We have they say 3.4 inch blade, I say 3.5 by my tape measure. I guess it depends where you measure it from. I just went from right in the dead center. Damascus steel. You can get the blade in RWL 34, which they do a pretty damn nice heat treat to. I bought this on the secondary market because I mean, you can order one of these. The books are open. The weight is not short, and I'm not a very patient guy, so I paid a little extra and got it just secondary market. So yeah, 3.5 inch blade, Damascus steel, classic drop point shape, full flat ground. And this thing is an excellent slicer. They put a very, very keen edge on it. It's not, you can see it's not a huge secondary bevel there because it's fairly thin behind the edge, so it doesn't really need to be. But they did a very nice job with the grinds. Very even, very symmetrical, and super sharp. This thing will pop hair off your arm, no problem. And from what you guys just saw there, you can kind of have an idea of why. Big fan of this knife. So yeah, 3.5 inch blade, drop point, flat, full flat grind, blah blah blah. Handles are titanium. The overall length is just over 8 inches. They have it listed as 8.1 inches on their website. I say that's pretty much spot on. So titanium handles here. You can see they've done a whole lot of work milling the handles to have this kind of pebbled diamond look to it, which as far as tactility goes, I really like. Very, very nice feeling in the hand. I think it also looks pretty damn nice, and it does a fairly good job at hiding wear. I don't know if this will get dirty faster, like if dirt will accumulate in the grooves more than it would on a normal smooth handled knife, but I haven't seen that so far, so I'm not too worried about it. The pocket clip you can see there is a milled piece of titanium, 3D milled titanium. It almost looks like a spring clip. They made it so thin. You can see the Grimsmo Knives logo in there. Yeah, it almost looks like a spring clip because it's so thin, but that is a 3D clip, and it is extremely functional. Extremely functional. Because it's so thin, it's not over hard to take in and to put in your pocket and take out. You know, it just slides in and out. So kudos to them for the pocket clip design. I don't think that would pose a problem as far as strength goes. I think, you know, it's probably going to bend easier than a thicker 3D milled clip. But I don't think I don't see it posing a huge problem. I mean, I don't have a problem with spring clips, and those are even thinner than this. So yeah, I actually prefer this compromise, the thinner 3D milled clip, which makes it super easy to put in your pocket and take out. Another detail about the handles: they are extremely milled out. Very, very, very milled out, which gives the knife almost like a, I have no fingernails, so I'm trying to give you the sound of what it sounds like when I tap on it. It just sounds kind of hollow when I tap on it. I'm a big fan. I guess it's probably not everyone's cup of tea, but for a knife this size, 8.1 inches overall, 3 ounces, that is super duper lightweight for a knife of this size to be that light. And it's also extremely thin, very, very thin profile. This is almost one of the thinnest knives I have, and it's also probably the longest knife that I have, so I do really like that. This is actually thinner than the custom neon I showed you guys in the last video, and that's one of the more slender knives on the market. So just to give you an idea. Yeah, so it sounds kind of hollow when you're tapping on it, and it almost feels not plasticky, but it's hard to describe. It doesn't feel like the other titanium knives that I've had. Very unique feeling because of how extensive the milling is. They did that without sacrificing the structural integrity of the knife, which that's the most important thing. You're going to be able to use this knife as it was intended, without having to worry about structural problems, and yet you're still getting that huge weight savings because of how thin. I mean, if you look at that, how deep that milling goes, and then you look at how thick the scale is overall, you start to get an idea of just how much material this thing has had taken out, and that'll give you some idea of why it's so lightweight. As far as Grimsmo goes, they make everything on this knife. Every piece is made in shop. All the screws, the bearings, the bearing cages, the over travels, everything made in shop. So you got a very cool decorative pivot there. All the screws are, like I said, they're custom. They do make them to fit Torx hardware, and they do give you the tool for the knife, but you can see they're obviously not just plain Jane Torx hardware. There again is the Grimsmo logo on the clip, and oh, I guess I can't get any light in there. Come on. I'm going to step into some light here so you can see this. You see it? Anyways, the Grimsmo Knives name is on the inside of the clip. Flow-through design with the 2 titanium standoffs, so very easy to clean the knife, although there is a lot of places for dirt to hide because of how milled out this thing is. I want to just give you a clear shot of this flipping action so you kind of get an idea of why I was so crazy about this knife. I mean, that's so ridiculous. It drops closed almost too fast. I'm not going to say it's too fast, because as long as you're not being dopey when you're closing the knife, you'll never have an issue. You know, you let it fall on your thumb and then you let it close. It's as simple as that. But I can see if you're not paying attention, which a lot of times I'm not because I play with my knives incessantly, that it could bite you, because it does close very fast. And the flipping action is extremely nice. It flips out really fast without, it's not so strong, the detent, that it's hurting your finger. You could do this all day and it's not going to hurt your finger. Which I believe one of the reasons for that is this very nice, let me see if, again with the light, fucking retard. Okay. If I can get this to focus, you can see that the detent is actually very flat and barely comes above the lock bar there. Which means that it doesn't, the blade doesn't have a huge hump to overcome to get out. It's just that initial burst, which is what you want to get it to flip in the first place. So very, very good design choice by Grimsmo Knives, and good execution. That's pretty much the story of the knife. They designed, it's just, you know, it's not the craziest knife. It's a fairly simple, you know, if you just look at the overall lines, it's not a crazy design, but it's executed perfectly. Very ergonomic, even with the simple, just, you know, you have a finger groove here, and then you have the swell so that it fills out your palm. There's no jimping up here, doesn't need to be. You got enough tactility with the finish on the handle. Yeah, it's very comfortable in the hand, very very secure grip. Not that that's a huge deal for me, but I've been enjoying using it. I very much enjoy using it. What else? It does have ceramic bearings that Grimsmo makes, and the bearing cage that Grimsmo also makes. Yeah, they make everything on the knife, which means that, you know, when it goes well, they get the credit, which they deserve for this knife. And if anything goes wrong, the buck stops with them. They didn't order anything, you know, from knife kits or whatever the hell, so they can't pass the blame onto any particular component because they made it all. And there are more detail. I know it looks very simple, but there are a lot of details here that showed you just how much work went into this knife. Like, look how rounded the flipper tab is. And it's got just a little bit of jimping there, just enough to grab your finger when you're pulling the knife. Light switch. It also flips really well, push button. I mean, it flips well. I can flip it well with my thumb. It still flips fast with my thumb, and that's, not many knives do that. What else? What else am I forgetting? Oh, this thing is also a pretty stellar value, in my opinion. To get the basic Rask, which this has a couple of add-ons. It's got the blade steel, the Damasteel, which is an upgrade, and then the finish on the handle, I believe, is also an upgrade. But like I said, I got this on the secondary market. But for the basic Grimsmo Rask, it's $675, and that includes all the, you know, the ceramic bearings and blah blah blah. None of that's add-on. That's all basic. So for $675, I know that's not a little amount of money. I've paid a whole lot more for a whole lot less. This thing is 100% handmade in the United States by two very passionate guys, the Grimsmo brothers. And if and their books, they're still open. You can still pre-order this knife. I think it's johngrimsmo.com is like where the form is or whatever, but yeah, you can still get on. It's probably going to be a bit of a wait. I did not want to wait, so I went ahead and paid secondary market prices, which this was marked up about 40%. I think I paid $1,500 for it, and then I looked up, like, with all the options, it would have been about $1,000, a little over $1,000. So I was happy to pay secondary market price because, like I said, I've paid a whole lot more for a whole lot less, and I wanted to get my hands on this and try it out. Shit, we're running into 15 minutes here. So yeah, for $675 for a full custom knife that is extreme. I'm telling you guys, 99.9% of you've never handled a better flipper than this thing. It also comes with a tool and a little thing of like nano oil in a really cool box, a really cool custom box. So in my opinion, for a custom knife, tremendous value, and a tremendously well-made knife. So kudos to the Grimsmo brothers. Happy holidays to you guys if you're watching this around the holidays, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.